There's something addictive about adventure riding. The further you travel from civilization, the less important a destination becomes. A mountain pass, a river crossing, a track that slowly stops feeling like a road at all. Because adventure has never really been about where you end up. It's about everything that happens getting there. Victoria's high country is one of those places, a place of endless ridgelines, forgotten tracks, and terrain that reward those willing to explore it. So when I was invited to join a 4-day motorcycle adventure tour and capture the journey on film, my answer was easy. 4 days, over 1,000 kilometers, a group of riders heading deep into the mountain. The plan was simple: ride, film, and discover what the high country had waiting. Every adventure begins with a few simple things: a group of people, a collection of machines, and a route that looks simple when it's drawn on a map. But the reality usually sits somewhere beyond that, because the map doesn't really tell you about the steep climb. It doesn't tell you about the views waiting around the next corner. And it definitely doesn't tell you about the moments you'll remember long after the ride is over. Over the next 4 days, we'd follow a route through some of Victoria's best riding country. Our nights would be spent in 3 mountain towns: Mansfield, Bright, and Dargo. The rest would be decided by the road. Leading the way was James, the person responsible for finding the trail ahead. Following behind was Drew, James's partner in crime, and our sweet rider, the person whose job is making sure that nobody becomes a permanent part of the scenery. And keeping everything moving in the background was Gil in the support vehicle, carrying the tools, equipment, and the things you hope stay packed away. Together, this was our crew. Joining me was my mate Lionel. He was here to capture the moments between the moments. The photos nobody sees until the adventure is already over. He'd be riding my DRZ, while I chased the story with my cameras on the 450 MT. There's always a moment before an adventure begins, before the first corner, before the first track. When the journey only exists as a line on a map. Then the key turns, the first gear clicks into place, and suddenly, the plan becomes reality. The first few kilometers of any adventure are deceptive. The road is smooth. The pace is comfortable. Everything feels predictable. That moment where the bitumen starts running out and the road you've been waiting for finally begins. The mountains were ahead, and we were ready to leave the easy road behind. The high country doesn't reveal itself all at once. It gives you small glimpses, a gap in the tree, a valley opening below, a ridgeline appearing as you reach the top of a climb. The reward isn't arriving somewhere, it's the feeling that comes from getting there. Because out here, the road is rarely just a way to get somewhere. The road is the reason you came.
Yeah, so far the shoot's going pretty well. There's a few shots I still want to get, but them closer and drifting around corners. But overall, it is quite nice and quite relaxed. To be honest, I've been stressing about this for a little while now, and especially that it was pushed back just made things a little more complicated. But it's good, we're out and we're filming. I'm really enjoying the Enduro backpack. After I added the molly pouches around, it's so comfortable. It was a little too cramped last time, very hard to sort of pull gear in and out. But now this is good. This setup's pretty special for the next few days with the filming I have to do. I'm carrying a little bit more gear than usual. So hopefully next time I use the bag, it'll be a bit lighter. Well, it's not too bad. I think after 4 days, it's definitely gonna get pretty heavy. The rest of the group's pretty far ahead. I had to stop the film. I should be catching up with them fairly soon.
After a morning following trails and mountain views, we regrouped. A quick stop for fuel, share stories, and give everyone a chance to reset.
How the fuck do you turn the radio off in Dargo? Lionel, how do you turn the radio off on a Dargo? It goes down, then it flattens out before it goes up. We'll stop there, get ready to shoot them coming down, and then at the very bottom, we'll stop again. There you go. Up you, Hawthorne Hill.
Every adventure has a moment where the scenery takes a back seat. A section of trails that pull your attention away from the view and back onto the front wheel. The kind of track where conversation stops, where every rider becomes a little more focused.
Be careful your line, man. Woo-hoo.
yet. Don't bin it, don't bin it, don't bin it. Holy shit! Too fast. Just about the same. Holy dude, my boots are like full. Yeah, they are, but it went into the pan.
That's the word. Go back and forth.
And you could say, oh,
I thought it was 6 years ago, not recently, was it?
no.
The high country is filled with reminders that people have traveled these mountains long before motorcycle arrived. Old huts, old trucks, old stories. And for a moment, the bikes are just passing through.
Sanctuary, because they're trying to repopulate it, but it's
As the sun began to drop behind the mountains, we rolled into Mansfield. The first day was behind us. Tomorrow would take us higher into the mountains. The strange thing about multi-day adventure is that every morning feels like the beginning. The bikes are already dirty. The memories from yesterday are still fresh, but the road ahead is completely new. By the second day, everyone had found their rhythm. The bike felt familiar. The group moved effortlessly as one. Each kilometer carried us a little deeper into the high country. The mountains grew taller. The roads became quieter. And for a while, it felt like one of those rare days where everything simply worked.
Careful, you can't see shit when you start crossing the line, it's so bad. The glare is it's easier than yesterday.
Adventures rarely unfold exactly the way you planned it. As we made our way towards Mount Buller, we were met with a close track. With our original route no longer an option, we did what adventure riders have always done: adapt. The sealed road was only a temporary interruption. The top of Mount Buller, and for a moment the kilometers disappeared. All that was left was the view. Up here, the road is no longer about where it takes you. It's about where it lets you see. Mountains in every direction, and a reminder of just how small we are amongst them. From there, the route turned north, following the mountain passes deeper into the high country, further from the roads we knew, and closer to the places we came here to find. Adventure rides usually have a rhythm, a lead rider to find the way, a sweep rider to make sure nobody gets left behind. But every now and then, someone has a different job. For Lionel and me, the mission was to capture the story. That meant moving ahead, waiting in the dust, and occasionally turning the ride into a moving film set.
Someone pick that up?
What's that?
Did someone pick this up?
No, that was Bruce. That's the other one.
Ah, that's the other
It's been
one.
in his pocket the whole time. Yeah. I'll lead us to the Goldie Spur track, and then you can take over and you just...
Okay.
Yeah.
Testing. Yeah, it works.
By the late afternoon, the high country had changed character. The flowy ridgeline and open tracks of the morning were behind us. Golden Spur was a different kind of challenge. The track was rough, but it still had rhythm, a rhythm you had to find. Rocky section tested your line choice. Loose climb tested your momentum. The terrain constantly changing beneath the tires. One moment requiring precision, the next allowing the bike to open up and flow. Reminding you of something, no matter how much experience you have, no matter how confident you feel, the terrain is always in charge. Because out here, things can change quickly. One moment, everything is flowing perfectly. The next, you're standing beside your bike, watching gravity trying to finish the ride without you.
I came off the bike down there. Oh, we're in trouble.
Are you okay?
I'm okay. I got thrown over the bars.
You went over?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm fine. I got thrown over the bars.
Nothing you grip up here.
Hold on to him.
One more.
Can't lose the old bloke.
No, you're up there. You can probably do it up here. Yeah. That's much better.
1, 2, 3.
Right, kick on. Yep. We've got to get the back up. Just hang on for 1 second.
Yeah,
we've got one more and then we'll do it.
Pull it that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, pull that way.
2, 3.
Wow.
I got him.
With the bike back on solid ground, and everyone still smiling, there was no reason to let that one moment take away from the journey. The mountains still had a lot to show us, and I still had a short list to finish.
I was waiting for that.
So we dusted ourselves off and kept moving. As we continued towards Bright, the mountains started to open up around us. The dust, the climbs, the kilometers behind us were starting to become a blur. But the moments stayed clear, the views, the challenges. The stories that only happen when you spend days exploring the unknown. 2 days behind us, 2 more were waiting. And somewhere beyond the next ridge, the high country still had a lot more to show us. By the third morning, yesterday's drama had already started to feel like someone else's problem. The bike had survived. And remarkably, gravity hadn't managed to rearrange anything. After 2 days of kicking dust through the air, though, the air filters were a different story.
Exactly halfway we'll go.
A fresh air filter for the DRZ, and a new pre-filter for the 450 MT. A quick inspection for anything that looked more broken than it did yesterday. With everything checked, tightened and still attached, we packed up the bikes and got ready to do it all over again. Day 3 would take us higher than we'd been so far. We left right behind and started to climb towards Mt Hotham. The plan was simple. Follow the ridgelines, find lunch in Hotham, then turn southeast and make our way towards Dargo. On paper, it didn't sound particularly complicated. But for me, this part of the ride was different. This was the furthest I'd ever been into the Victorian high country. Up until now, I'd spent most of the trip riding through terrain I was at least somewhat familiar with. Considering what I put the 450 MT through the day before, I was half expecting something to had let go. But apart from a tiny crack on the right-hand side plastic panel, the bike had come through yesterday completely unscathed.
I didn't know there was a river crossing there.
I told you there were a couple more water crossings. Right, not far to coffee.
I locked up hard there. Holy shit. You get wet, Lionel?
Hear anything?
I said the battery on my thing is lasting today.
Oh.
Can you hear me? Oh man, it's hot today.
I am fucking cooking. On that hill was the worst.
Yeah, I know. No, I had my jacket closed. I was boiling, like slowly boiling. Eh? I can't remember. Nothing overly important. But it was hot. We're getting some good shots today.
Twin Track was one of those sections I'd been looking forward to the most. It was also one of 5 bucket list items I'd get to tick off my list on this trip. Sometimes a track earns its reputation without needing to try very hard. This track just seemed to flow. The ridgeline rolled beneath us, one corner naturally feeding into the next. And after a while, you stop thinking about every corner, you stop trying to ride the track, and you just settle into a rhythm.
There was a clearing between the two hills, so I'm not sure. Oh, really? A little bit ahead there's a campsite. Let's wait up there.
Give me a sec.
Yeah, I'm gonna change batteries.
What's the campsite called, do you know?
No idea.
It's at 9.5k.
Oh, really? Because he said like 3k if it was.
Eventually, we regrouped at one of the lookouts. The kind of place that makes you forget you're supposed to be going somewhere. Mountain after mountain disappeared into the distance, and for a few minutes, nobody seemed particularly interested in leaving. We'd eventually reach Mt Hotham, and after a few days of dirt, dust and mountain tracks, it was a good place to stop for lunch and reset.
Whoa. How's that my seat going, mate? Much better. I've got no idea actually. Now I've got a low seat. Something like pretty decent. Yeah, right.
From Hotham, the road turned towards Dargo. The Great Alpine Road was something else. The road climbed and twisted through the mountains, giving us a more civilized, a more predictable taste of the Alpine country. Eventually, the bitumen gave way to gravel, and the iconic Dargo high plain road stretched out in front of us. The character of the rise changed almost immediately. The road became wider, the horizon became bigger, and the mountains opened up around us once again. This was the kind of road that made the kilometers disappear, fast enough to flow, open enough to look around, and with a horizon that seemed to keep moving further away the longer you ride towards it.
How far to Dargo?
It's an easy ride from here.
Yeah.
And it was 82 k's from the pub,
So,
and the road's kind of. I mean, we have to descend into the valley, but it's really easy.
but
ride.
this is the last section pretty
Yeah,
much.
yeah.
By the time we rolled into Dargo, the bikes had done their job. And somehow, we'd all made it this far in one piece. We settled into the old log cabins for the night, then traded helmets for dinner plates at the iconic Dargo Hotel. 3 days on the road has a way of changing a group of riders. Strangers become riding buddies become mates. And suddenly, every minor inconvenience is a story worth telling. The stories get better, but the jokes get worse. And yet, nobody really wants this night to end. By the fourth morning, the end was started to feel real. 4 days of riding had come down to one final start, and that bittersweet feeling knowing the adventure is almost over. The bikes lined up outside the pub, engines fired, helmets went on, and for the last time, we pointed them towards the road. The final day was a short one. Just one last stretch of dirt between Dargo and Heyfield before the group would begin to part ways. But by now, the destination wasn't really the point. After 4 days of chasing tracks through the mountains, the riding itself had become the destination.
We'll do those fast passes first.
Yep.
Really, that's different. We'll do the soft passes first, and then we'll find a good spot. We'll do the remaining like super stuff.
By Heyfield, the group that had started together was beginning to scatter. Some bikes were loaded onto a trailer, others pointed their wheels towards home. 4 days earlier, we'd all arrived looking for an adventure. Now, we're leaving with 9 different versions of the same one.
Sorry?
That's probably how it should be.
Yeah, I know.
For me, there's always a final part to the adventure. The glamorous stuff. Wash the bike, check for damage, and figure out what actually survived the trip. 4 days of rocks, dust, water, and questionable decision, and somehow, the 450 MT had come through it all. Not bad. Not bad at all. Although I'm sure the bike would have preferred a quieter holiday. And then it was just Lionel and me. The cameras were mostly packed away. Just 2 bikes and the long ride home. Days, more than 1,000 kilometers, some questionable decisions and a few close calls, a lot of dust, a lot of laughter, those trackside conversations, and those quiet stretches of road where you're riding alongside your mates. And that's the thing about adventure riding. You leave looking for somewhere new to explore and come home with a reason to go back. Because eventually the kilometers stop being numbers, the tracks become stories, and the places you once wanted to see become the places you already miss. A big thanks to Ridgeline ADV and the crew for having me along on this adventure. And as always, thank you so much for joining me. And I'll catch you guys in the next one.